Hello, and I want to welcome you to the next installment of The Wicked Orchard Presents Reality and Fiction. I'm your host, Sidra Owens. I want to welcome you all to 2022 and wish you all a happy new year. Been a while since I put out a podcast, and I'm inclined to apologize, but I won't. Because when it comes to creativity, there's always an ebb and flow, especially in my case. And I took a break over the holidays, gave me opportunity to recharge, think about how I want to proceed for the new year, and here I am. We're going to start off today's conversation with Black excellence. Black excellence has been a term that has been thrown about for several years as a way for Black people in this country as a whole to feel better about ourselves and our race. When you see another Black person doing well, that is an example of Black excellence. Usually they're famous, mostly probably in the arts, music. Those are where you see the predominant Black people in this country. Let's not forget sports. And those are all wonderful endeavors in which Black people have excelled. But Black excellence is far more than that, far more than a catchphrase like Black Boy Joy or Black Girl Magic. Black excellence is a foundation that the Black people in this country have been building upon since the abolition of slavery. Even before, Black excellence is excelling despite our adversity, our personal adversity, our generational adversity, our adversity as a people. When I was an elementary school kid, I went to a school that was in the hood. 99% Black, mostly lower income, but we had a lot of good teachers who cared about their work, cared about the kids, very much no nonsense. I appreciate that very much now, looking back on it so many years later. And of course, looking back on it now, I know they had the curriculum that they had to teach, but every February, when Black History Month came around, they made sure that we all got a dose of Black history, and we would learn about Black entertainers, Black musicians, inventors, religious figures, the whole gambit of Black success stories in this country. It was important for us to be shown these things as children because we did not see a lot of it on TV. You think it's not a whole lot now. It was even less 30 plus years ago. And even less, way before then. So in my school, they made sure that they showed us these examples of Black excellence. Something that could, you could aspire to. You could possibly think, I might be able to accomplish that one day. And they also promoted Black excellence in us as children. I remember being in class and the spelling bee was coming up. I had never done it before. I am an introvert. The spelling bee required you to get up in front of people and spell. I didn't want any part of that. But when the teacher presented it, she was like, if you want to volunteer for the spelling bee, go ahead and raise your hand. So, a few people were raising their hand. I did not because I didn't want any of having to go on stage and talk in front of people. And my teacher said to me, Sidra, you're doing this anyway, so you might as well go ahead and raise your hand. Now, I knew that was the end of the conversation, so I raised my hand, and I was forced to do the spelling bee. Back then, I didn't like it, but of course, I wasn't going to say anything about it because that is not how things were done back then. And I'm glad that, of course, looking back, I'm glad that my teacher did that. She turned out to be one of my favorite teachers, and I'm glad that she did that. Miss Ernestine Boyd pushed me to do it, and I did well. I didn't go on to, regionals and nationals and things like that. But getting up And talking in front of people, especially academically, is something that I would have to do later, and that early experience helped me. Black excellence begins early in our experiences, being pushed to do what we know you can do or what we can do. I pushed my daughter to try to excel to the best that she can, but you have to walk a fine line because she isn't me. Our personalities are different, and I can't expect from her what I expect from myself, but I expect her to work to her full capability. She's an intelligent child. She's just lazy, like a lot of kids. People see black excellence as it is in our country, and they want to be the next Beyonce or the next. I'm sorry, I don't know who the famous rappers are. Whatever famous rapper it is right now, they want to be them. Famous basketball or football player. I don't cover sports. That's a different topic, but it gives people something to aspire to, especially if they're coming from circumstances where things around them are seemingly hopeless. And that's a great thing. But I have the problem that people who succeed and display black excellence in fields of education or fields that are not entertainment or sports are not heralded enough. I've got 3 examples. The first one we're going to start off with is Amanda Gorman. Amanda Gorman is a youth poet laureate who read The Hills We Climb at President Biden's inauguration. She was young, she was well spoken, and her poem garnered a sense of hope. I understand why it was chosen for that occasion. Being a poet isn't something that is heralded in our culture nationally. No, there's very few people who are sitting around. Oh man, who's gonna come out with the next poem? That's not that's not how schools or black children work in this country right now. I don't know if it ever did, but certainly not now. Another successful black female who exemplifies black excellence is Dr. Khasmekia Corbett. She's the assistant professor of immunology and infectious disease at the Harvard School of Public Health and highly instrumental in the creation of the COVID-19 vaccine. I was amazed and surprised and overjoyed when I heard this. There are so many people who are against the COVID-19 vaccine, mainly out of stupidity and ignorance. And if you were one of those listening who is against the vaccine, it is because of stupidity and ignorance, and you can take that with you. And to find out that a highly educated black female was instrumental in this creation so that maybe one day we can put this pandemic behind us, it was just wonderful to learn. I don't know how well publicized it was. I don't think it was as well publicized as who won the last basketball game, but that is a fact, and a fact that should be upheld. The next person that I want to cover very quickly, Nicole Hannah-Jones, and she's an investigative journalist who won a Pulitzer Prize for her work on the 1619 Project. The 1619 Project has garnered so much controversy because it goes through the history of African Americans in this country since the first slaves arrived in Virginia, and displaying how this country is built on slavery and racism. People don't like the truth, makes them feel bad, but it's true, and she had to suffer all kinds of slings because of that truth that she presented to the world. These types of individuals, and they all happen to be black females, are not championed and heralded and upheld and talked about or go viral like I think they should. There are plenty of individuals that go viral. They say something and it spreads like wildfire. Case in point, Nicki Minaj went on Twitter and said that some cousin or relative of hers got the COVID-19 vaccine and his testicles swole, and that spread like wildfire. Oh, great. Misinformation, secondhand information about an issue that is polarizing in this country and killing people, especially in the African American community, among black people, spread like wildfire. Our country is very reactive. They read something, they have to respond in some way, so they have to tweet it or put it on Facebook. Every little thing you hear or see has to be tweeted immediately. I don't think Nicki Minaj gave any thought to the ramifications of what she said when she tweeted that profound misinformation. But, she's super popular. She sings, she raps, she's curvaceous, she got a big ass, she's wonderful. And there are lots of cookie cutter females out there just like her with the same status, with the same ability to sway people's minds at their fingertips due to social media. I'm not saying they're not doing well. I'm not saying they don't have their own excellence, but it can be detrimental and is also fitting into a box they like to put black women in. And yes, these black women are successful, but they're also pigeonholed and stereotyped, and that stereotype is giving them success. Black people exist all across the spectrum. They're not all just poor, they're not all thugs, they're not all ball players, they're not all hippie, curvaceous females who can sing and know how to shake it. There's so many various types of black people, and only certain types are heralded and championed as an example of black excellence. We need to put as much credence and importance in those who have gained their black excellence through their education, through their knowledge, through their research, through the uses of their mind and their words towards educating, not just entertaining. Our ability to entertain is well known and has been well exploited for a long time, but our ability to be leaders on an educational front or a technological front is a lot further behind than it should be. And those examples of black excellence are what need to be pushed out there as well. So I'm not saying that we have to completely get rid of the entertainment and the sports, because they're important and this country would never do that. But it needs to be, educational leaders need to be on par as well, so that maybe black children can see them and be like, wow, I would like to do that. I would like to be an investigative journalist. I would like to be an immunologist, an epidemiologist. I would like to be a well-known poet, not just singer, rapper, ball player. Now, if you scale the issue of black excellence down to a more basic and general everyday level, so we're not talking about famous people, we're talking about everyday people that you interact with, it is hard oftentimes to achieve the excellence you are looking for, because you don't always get the support that you need from your community. I have been fortunate to have people who do support me, but not everyone has those that support them. There are those who say, hey, I want to do this, and people say, oh, you can't do that, that's hard. Or you shouldn't try that, you should try this. Something that is easier for to do, something that is more your level. Pushing them, their ability, their dreams, and their desires down. The whole crabs in a barrel idea. Crabs trying to get out, other crabs are trying to pull it back in. They don't want to see someone else that, they view as on their level do well. That's rampant in the black community, among black people in this country. And that is something that we need to rise above and get away from, because I don't think that was put upon us by us. It was adapted from generations of oppression. I'm not doing well, so why should you do well? As a black person, if you have made that decision that you are going to push for something better, for something greater, to dream of something and strive to get it, setting yourself on that path is not easy, and it is not a straight line. It's most likely going to be a very meandering one, because there are not doors always standing open to let you through. And choosing to pursue a goal that is lofty as opposed to doing something safe, not only is it scary, but it can be a lonely path. The pursuit of black excellence, although I think it's a necessary pursuit in this country, it can also be a very draining and painful pursuit. And everyone's excellence doesn't look the same. Everyone's success doesn't look the same. And this is where having to manage your dreams, your drive, and your mental health come into play. Mental health comes into play with everything. If you didn't know, you just learned. Mental health is a factor in everything that we do from the moment that we're born, because we're having experiences. Experiences shape you for the positive or the negative. So if you're on your path to attain whatever goal you're trying to attain, and you keep having blockades in your way, whether it's a lack of support, a lack of opportunity, not being able to find the information you need to move you that next step forward, or if it's just self-doubt or imposter syndrome, it can be very damaging to your mental health. And so while you're on that path trying to find your own success, you also have to maintain your own mental stability. You have to be aware of how you're feeling. You have to be aware of what you're not allowing yourself to feel, of your anxiety, of your sadness. Because having those emotions, having those experiences daily will also drain you and keep you from the path, from the success you're trying to achieve. Black excellence is a lot more than just hashtag. It's a lot more than a yes queen when someone is doing good for themselves. It is a foundation that is laid by every black generation so that the next one will be able to build upon. And it is the hope of many. It's also the hope of myself that, doors can be open so those coming behind can reach for that excellence and not have so many obstacles in the way. I myself, as you should know by now, am a writer. I've written 8 manuscripts and self-published 2, and self-publishing is not easy. Getting traditionally published is even harder because the traditional publishing industry has a set things that they want to push out there for people to read, and they rarely deviate. It always seemed to me they don't want anything that was too realistic. They don't want things that you can actually truly identify with and doesn't send you off into some fantasy. I remember having a conversation with a former colleague, and I was telling her, I've got my book published. Now I'm trying to find a way to get into various bookstores, but there were no more black-owned bookstores. And she said, well, maybe you have to open one. I said, so I have to write the book, publish the book, and open the bookstore to sell it in? And the same can be said for book conferences where authors get together to listen to each other, exchange ideas, techniques, as well as sell the different things that they've published. A lot of those do not focus on or are geared towards literature put out by black writers. So there are a few out there, and you usually have to go quite a distance to get to them. But if you want to create a platform or a conference that celebrates and, showcases black writers, you might have to create one. So, not only do you have to write the material, publish the novel, promote the novel, you have to create a conference to uplift the novelist. It's a lot. It's a lot of hats to wear. It is a slow road to travel, and it can be grinding work that grinds you to a halt when you just don't know which way to go next. So, from personal experience, I want to impress upon you the importance of keeping your goals in mind and maintaining your mental health and stability, and seeking out help from those around you. Hopefully having a good support system of people who can uplift you and advise you and, put you back on your feet when you're feeling low. Black excellence is necessary. It's something for us to rise towards, but it needs to be as varied as black people are in this country, as varied as the black experience. It needs to move beyond just, sports and entertainment. It's very important so that going forward, we know that we are more than just entertainers and athletes. We are intellectuals and philosophers and scientists and doctors, poets, journalists. Those things are equally important, and they all should be elevated so that children coming up behind will have an even greater number of things to aspire to. You're not just being the president one day, because being the president is good, but there are a lot of other things you can be in this world that are far more influential. I hope that wasn't too meandering for those of you who are listening. Thank you so much for hanging in there and following my chain of logic. This is going to do it for the YouTube version. To partake in the fictional installment, click on your favorite podcasting platform, linked in the description below.